Our pleasure now to be joined by LSU head baseball coach Jay Johnson. Tigers just finished up his first fall in Baton Rouge with the Purple and Gold World Series over the weekend. Coach, appreciate some time. How are you?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. It is our pleasure. Got a lot of questions I want to get to, but first of all, kind of as a general question to you, your first fall here in Baton Rouge, you've got a bloated roster because of the COVID rules and all the kind of things that have created that situation. What was your first fall like?
Yeah, it was great. I think what made it great is the players and the buy-in to maybe a different or a new way of doing things. And I thought we got some traction and gained a lot of ground as far as some development things for some of them, and really feel good about where we're heading into Christmas break here. And they'll have a good plan of what they need to do for the next month to 45 days to be ready when we turn the corner and get back. So if they do a good job with that, then I like where we're at heading into the spring.
I opened things up for some questions on Twitter from some listeners, and overwhelmingly the response was, is the Jacob Berry okay? So I'll lead with that. Jacob Berry obviously missed a little bit of time there at the end. Is Jacob Berry okay?
Yes, he is fine. He will be ready to roll come opening day.
Good. All right, let's talk about a couple spots on the diamond. I want to talk about catcher. You've got a lot of depth there. You've got a returner in Alex Milazzo. You brought in a couple of new players as well. What do you make of the competition there behind the plate?
I think it's been great. I think, Sparky Anderson, the old manager, said something a long time ago that stuck with me. If you have a bad catcher, you have a bad team. And when I got here and looking at the roster, Alex Milazzo is one of the best defensive catchers in the country, in my opinion. Didn't really have a great year offensively, but I think he's done a good job with what we've put in front of him for improvement, and I think you'll see. And if you've been out in the fall, I'm sure you've seen a much improved hitter. And so that's great for our team. Bringing Tyler McManus in from Samford has had a great year offensively every year he's been in college baseball. Did 11 or 12 home runs last year at Samford, and we asked him to kind of make a significant swing change when he got here to handle a better level or higher level pitching that he's going to see in the SEC, and he did it immediately, and the results were pretty awesome. Had 9 home runs throughout the course of the fall and was on base all the time and did a good job moving the offense. So I think those two guys are well positioned to kind of battle for that spot, but they're both going to play and play a lot. And hopefully we can get Hayden Travinsky healthy. He missed the fall with a couple of injuries and has a good ETA for returning by the time the season starts, but we'll have to see where he gets to at that time.
How has NIL affected recruiting, especially some of the guys who are going to get a nice chunk of change to play in the minor leagues? How would you say NIL has affected that?
I think it remains to be seen. I think it's a super positive thing. We've had some players be able to take advantage of that in a big way, which is awesome. And I'm all for more money around college baseball. And if this was the way to get it, then I think that's awesome. And I think LSU is one of the few places in the country that our players are going to really be able to capitalize on that. I think it's one of the few places where college baseball is not a channel changer, but a thing. And so hopefully we can continue to tap into that. And I'm happy to see our players having some success with it.
Coach Will Wade and the Tigers basketball are looking pretty good. Do you intend on using the Maravich Center as a place to host some baseball recruits?
Hey, let's go. I tell you what, if our pitching staff is holding people down like that defense, we're going to be in great shape.
Well, let's talk about that pitching staff a little bit. I struggled with how to phrase this question because it can be long-winded, but it's in terms of structuring your staff with 3 weekend starters or the guy that's the closer, or this guy's going to be long relief. How do you go about, you and Coach Kelly, putting together a plan to determine what roles guys are going to have moving forward after you've looked at them for a fall?
Yeah, it's a good question, and it's one that we don't have to answer today because so much of where these guys are going to be 50 or 60 or 75 days from now is going to be dependent on the work that they put in. They all have a laid out, very detailed plan of what we want them to do. I am very confident in the pieces that we have, and if you ask me who won the fall, whether it was the pitching staff or the hitters, I would tell you it was the pitching staff, which that is, we'd way rather have it that way because I know the talent and the caliber of position players that we have. But I think what you're going to see is our strength will be in numbers in terms of the number of guys that can make a positive contribution, and our strength will be in our staff's ability to throw strikes. and to be highly competitive with multiple pitches. And I am not afraid to use as many of them as we need to get to 27 outs on a night or 81 on a weekend. And I'm looking forward to putting it together. I think there's several guys that have done a good job, and there's several guys that can contribute to us winning. So we have another phase before we kind of get to pinning down who's where, but you might see it done a little differently than maybe in the past.
So I don't mean to single guys out, but I will because we have the opportunity to do so. I know there are a lot of arms that you've looked at, but one of the guys that I saw a couple of times that really impressed me, it was Kale Landsville. Can you speak to kind of what you saw from him in the fall?
Absolutely. I think Kale was a good recruit. When I took the job, I was obviously familiar that he had signed at LSU, and we went and worked on building a relationship there. The first thing we had to do is make sure he didn't sign a pro contract in the draft, and was very happy that he didn't. I think what you see when you see Kale pitch is a high level of pitchability. He has been schooled very well prior to getting to LSU. He throws all three pitches for strikes. He's a really good competitor. And if you don't have balance, if you don't have the ability to see the ball and recognize pitches, he's going to create a lot of problems for you because he can disrupt timing. And I think he's on the higher end of pitchability on our staff, and I'm glad we're going to have him for the next few years.
One of the first conversations you had when taking the job was with Devin Fontenot. Every time I went out there, he was the first pitcher out there and was throwing extended innings, usually 3 innings. What kind of role do you see him working into this year?
Yeah, he's going to be important in winning, and we did talk about, giving him an opportunity to start, and I think what I needed to see was 2 things. I needed to see the ability to get left and right-handed hitters out. So regardless of how somebody stacks a lineup, can he be effective? He certainly proved that. And then just the conditioning level, it's different to where your mind can't break down when your body gets tired, and you have to have a way to get through the order 2 and 3 times. And I think he's shown that to me. And if, we were starting out today, I do think he would be in that mix to be a starter. I think the only thing that I'll have to work past is I always want to have one of our best guys at the end of the game to secure wins when they're there to get. And so he's obviously done that and has some experience in doing that. So it's probably just going to be juggling with what's best for our team. But I saw what I needed to see to push forward with giving him an opportunity to start.
Unless you had baseball coach Jay Johnson, our guest, a couple more, Coach. We appreciate your time so much. Number one, Dylan Cruz playing a lot of center field later in the fall, I noticed. Is that a possibility for him in defensively?
Yeah, for sure. I think a couple things give us some advantages. If we can do that, it opens up some matchups for the rest of the offense. I think left and right are fairly easy to play in this ballpark, being that it's not very big, and we actually have one of the bigger ballparks in the SEC. So it gives us a little flexibility with matching up if Dylan can stay in center. But you may see us do some other stuff as well that might get a couple different guys in the lineup, and he's obviously going to be a huge piece of it, whether it's center field, right field, or left field. But I wanted to get him some experience out there, and I thought he did a really good job. He ran down several balls in the left center gap, and does a good job going left and right. And I think he demonstrated to me that he can definitely do it, and that's a real positive for our team.
I only saw about 20% of the scrimmages, but every time I went out there, Cade Doty hit missiles all over the field. Did anyone get him out in the fall?
Well, I have this metric system that I use to basically tell you who your most productive offensive player is. And for our fall baseball, he was number one and a pretty clear number one. And I love everything about Cade. I think he's a talented guy, can probably play anywhere on the field. Really good hitter, really coachable, but he's super competitive too. His motor runs really hot, and I'm really excited about him. I think he's the player on our team that not enough people talk about in terms of being at the top. And right now he's 1A, 1B, or 1C in terms of our top players on this team, and really happy to have him here in my first year.
Last thing, anything that you're still very concerned about after fall that maybe isn't where you want it?
Well, I'm always going to have something that I think we need to get better at. And I think I'm most pleased with we made some large strides in mindset where I think some of the team needed to grow up from last year and handling success better and handling failure better for sure. And that's part of learning. Like, you only get that with experience. So that will be tested some more when we get into the time where it really counts. That'll be tested when you write out a lineup one day and somebody that thinks they should be in there shouldn't. But you can't really build chemistry and maturity until you have to deal with both real success and real failure. So you can't rush those things. I'm just excited to see how we develop and how we mature as a team in that regard. And I think when we do, I think you'll start to see the talent of some of these guys come to the surface more consistently, and that'll get us the improvement we all want. And then from there, I'm very comfortable with where the results land. So just really excited to get going, more than concerned about anything.
Yep, we can't wait for February, Coach. Thanks so much for your time.
All right, guys. Have a good afternoon.
You too. That was Jay Johnson, LSU head baseball coach.